On May 12, the first round of presidential elections took place in Lithuania. In this regard, Tucker Carlson spoke about a scandalous incident that the Lithuanian press preferred to keep silent about. We will briefly report what he said and comment on some points. But before we begin, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. A threatening letter was sent to the email of the presidential candidate's campaign headquarters, Dr. Eduardas Vaitkus, a professor and doctor of medical sciences. Due to YouTube's rules and restrictions, we cannot provide the text of the letter. We only want to note that it was not anonymous. The sender's name, surname, phone number, and email address were provided. Kaunas County Prosecutor Arūnas Bundonis, commenting on the decision, noted that after a thorough examination of the situation, it was determined that there is not enough information to initiate a case on the threat to life. The request for pretrial procedures was denied. The Lithuanian press remained silent. Not a single word about the threats was mentioned by the 7 other candidates, including the incumbent President Gitanas Nausėda and Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė. Why did the independent candidate Vaitkus provoke the anger of his opponents and a significant part of society? In the mandatory televised debates on the state channel LRT, he presented his program. Here are its main points. The authorities have been ignoring the constitution of the Lithuanian state for more than 10 years. Lithuania has no independence or right to make decisions in its national interest. These rights have been illegally transferred to the capital of the European Union. Brussels, with all its institutions, acts to Lithuania's detriment. Do we need to remain a member of such a community? NATO is an aggressive military bloc. Membership in the alliance has turned Lithuania from a peaceful state into a belligerent one without any justification or grounds. Geopolitical realities are such that outside NATO, our country would be safer. The main source of our problems is the blind submission to the interests of Western partners, especially the USA. It is no surprise that 1/3 of our residents live well, while 2/3 live very hard lives. 1/5 of Lithuania's population is on the brink of poverty. Lithuania's policy towards Belarus and Russia is provocative. Considering national interests, it is time to establish natural, equal, and good neighborly relations, avoiding interference in the internal affairs of others and categorically prohibiting interference in our own. Deny asylum to Belarusian citizen Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya and other political puppets who pose as representatives of their people's will. Such figures represent a direct threat to our security. Convince parliament members to urgently include the draft law on foreign agents on the Seimas session agenda. Discuss it and make decisions according to the will of the elected representatives. Stop publicly showing support for Ukraine, remove its flag from the parliament, government offices, and all state institutions. Focus the leadership's efforts not on supporting the war, but on seeking peace, long-term guarantees, and peaceful dialogue with the mandatory participation of the Russian Federation, taking into account its national interests. If elected head of state, my first foreign visit will be to Hungary for experience. Then, I will definitely visit Minsk, Moscow, and Beijing, which are shaping a fairer world order. Well, quite a controversial program. Dear viewers and listeners, what do you think about it? Please write your opinions in the comments. Let's continue. Vaitkus spoke loudly, clearly, and dryly. The other debate participants and the hosts were left speechless. Lithuania was shocked. It is worth noting that the election campaign was and remains dull and purely bureaucratic. There is no traditional electioneering for the head of state, no local meetings with voters, and no fresh ideas, indicating the intellectual poverty of the main participants in the process. Lithuanians had never encountered such boredom. The absolute routine of what was happening did not allow for any intrigue. President Gitanas Nausėda expected a ritual ascent to the main chair for a second consecutive term or, at the very least, a triumphant advance to the second round. Opinion polls showed that more than 55% of voters planned to go to the polls on May 12. Candidate number 1 could receive up to 35% of the vote, but that would not be enough for a victory. The remaining ballots will be divided among his 7 competitors. Prime Minister Ingrida Šimonytė, running under number 2, will take the lion's share. From 0.5% to 5% will be garnered by former Constitutional Court Chairman Dainius Salimas, supported by the neoliberal Freedom Party, uncharismatic Labour leader Andrius Mazuronis, and the virtually unknown Gedrimas Jeglinskas, who left the corridors of NATO headquarters to seek high office. The independent candidates could gather up to 10% of the vote. Former MP Remigijus Žemaitaitis, who left the Seimas on April 29 due to accusations of anti-Semitism, and millionaire lawyer Ignas Vegel, the main critic of the current government, calling it helplessness. The above disposition formed at the end of December 2023 and remained unchanged until the last decade of April, when the troublemaker Vaitkus did not get live TV air. The citizens of Lithuania have ceased to be masters of their own country. Which of the authorities and ordinary patriots could like this? The reaction of rejection was fierce. Ingrida Šimonytė did not mince words. The statements are shocking. On a reputable discussion platform, live on air, a person broadcasts Kremlin narratives in exact accordance with the manual prepared there. Everything Eduardas Vaitkus said is constantly echoed by the President of Russia. The Prime Minister was most outraged by the cynical verbal manipulations about seeking peace in Ukraine. In her opinion, these are not steps toward peace, but actions that will never lead to peace. Nausėda was indignant. What kind of relations should Lithuania desire when it comes to Russia and Belarus? One country threatens Kyiv's sincere allies with nuclear weapons. The other, after falsifying the election results in August 2020, lost all remnants of independence, effectively becoming a vassal of the former. And yet someone wants to build relationships with them? Don't be naive, gentlemen. There will be no relations with Minsk, even if you wish it very much. The reason is simple: this country is dependent in every sense. On this basis, we must firmly defend our position. Ukraine's freedom is Lithuania's freedom. The path proposed by Vaitkus and his like-minded people leads nowhere. At best, it leads to joining Hungary, which is becoming a pariah in Europe. The dissenter was harshly criticized, but no one dared accuse the professor of adherence to other views. He is not a city madman, not a marginal, not a troublemaker, not an enemy agent. Vaitkus is a high-ranking state official, the director of the Center for the Study of Civil Resistance to Occupation Regimes. In fact, he is the main cog in the Lithuanian ideological machine. As the professor himself says, his ideas are not derived from manuals, but are heartfelt, thoughtful, and structured. From the situation that developed 10 days before the first round of elections, several fundamental conclusions can be drawn. A rather extraordinary politician has appeared in the Republic of Lithuania. The so-called deep state will not allow Professor Eduardas Vaitkus to win the election. The incumbent President Nausėda will win in the second round. However, his victory will not be easy or convincing. However, regardless of which of Vaitkus's opponents comes to power, it will not affect the overall situation. Dear viewers and listeners, please write in the comments what you think about the material we presented. If you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. All the best to you.